So now we're going to have a chat about the Surface Intel Core Ultra devices and the zero trust security model that is built into every Surface device, right from chip to cloud. So let's set the scene a little bit. Cybersecurity attacks are definitely on the rise. In Australia alone, in the past 2 years, we've had 3 major and very public breaches, being Latitude, Optus and Medibank. These breaches have impacted a combined total of approximately 33 million customers.
Oof.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what makes Surface devices even more secure? So not only from a hardware perspective, but also from a supply chain point of view.
Yeah, so one of my roles on commercial technical marketing team is to work across various groups within Microsoft. That definitely includes security teams. So I get the opportunity to talk with our security engineering team on Surface, but I also get to talk to our Windows engineering team for security, our identity folks, and kind of across the board. And so why I mention that is because one of the things that really I think Surface shines with is, again, exemplifying the best of Microsoft. And so when it comes to security, we are one of the most attacked companies in the world. And thankfully, we've also put a lot of things in place to make sure that we remain secure for our customers. We take a crazy amount of data and we put that into our systems to make sure that we stay ahead of our attackers. We roll out new technologies to be able to stay ahead of our attackers as well and remain agile across the board. And Surface is no different from that. And so I like to kind of say this phrase when it comes to Surface in terms of how we manage security. And it's this idea that for Surface, they are all built secure, trusted at every layer to be able to protect our users and data, actually, with ultimate control for IT. So we really wanted to be able to provide all of the different controls that help, I think, layer on top of all the things that we bring to bear. So what's that? What does that include? Well, when you think about Surface, we go all the way back to design. Like the moment we start putting pen on pencil, or in this case, pen on Surface, right? To be able to come up with a design and really start thinking about these devices, we're immediately trying to figure out how to secure them. And then part of that is we are trying to also adhere to the Microsoft zero trust philosophy and principle. And so what I mean by that is, if you don't really kind of trust anything around it, you want to make sure that you're assuming compromise at every level. Well, what does that mean? Well, let's say my identity layer or a specific component about my identity has been compromised. And we want to make sure that the things around identity, where other components within the operating system, are also secure. So we take that philosophy to bear on everything that we do. And so across the entire life cycle of the device, from design all the way to decommission, zero trust is in mind. We really kind of bake it into all the things that we do. Part of that, by the way, is supply chain. So we haven't really talked about supply chain historically from a Surface perspective. And by the way, shameful knock, there is a blog out on our IT Pro blog about supply chain. I definitely recommend going and reading it. But one of the things that you'll hear and read about us talking about when it comes to supply chain is that we take the same principles that Microsoft has to adhere to because we're a global company, because we're a software and a hardware company, because we're an AI company. And we apply those to our vendors. We apply those to all of the different mechanisms across Microsoft when we build into security. So we started with that design piece, right? But at some point we got to start manufacturing. And so we help layer in security by minimizing the amount of third-party source components. We really work with our trusted vendors like Intel to make sure that even Intel has the best security that they can provide at that chip level. And we ensure that even down to like training, that we want them to be using the right practices, MFA, understanding what phishing means. And so that every single user of every single vendor of everything that we do has some kind of layer of security built into it and is core to what we do. It's just about making sure that everything across that chip chain has shifted in mentality to make sure that security is top of mind for them.
Awesome. So what are some of the current attacks that bad actors are using, and how does Surface mitigate these vulnerabilities?
Yeah, so far I've kind of talked about this philosophy. I've given you kind of a rough of a framework of where we go. We definitely build to help prevent attacks, right? That's definitely one of the things that we do. And at a pure hardware level, even before the device boots up. We put in a ton of research and a ton of effort to secure things that seem somewhat benign to most people, but things like our firmware.
Yeah.
So firmware and UEFI have historically been kind of that pre-boot operating system, which is getting really techy, by the way, so sorry for some of the readers or listeners out here. But you've got to be able to secure as the device is booting up. So before you even hit the operating system, attackers have figured out how to take advantage of that pre-boot experience. We worked with what we call Project Mu, which is an open source UEFI to really bring the most secure capabilities that we can come up with to that UEFI layer. And not only does that bring in new layers of security to prevent any kind of attacks, but that also provides agility for Microsoft and also provides agility for our customers and control when it comes to our UEFI. So UEFI, the Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, actually allows our customers to control the device all the way down to the microcode. Well, what does that mean? Well, maybe you're in an environment where you can't have Bluetooth operating, or maybe you're in an environment where you don't want the camera to operate. Our UEFI enables our customers to be able to turn that off at the microcode level to where an end user can't turn it on at all. In fact, if an end user were to go into, like, say, their device manager and try to find the Bluetooth settings or try to find a camera, from their perspective, it doesn't exist. It's literally off at that level. It's complete. There's no power to it. So ultimate control over that firmware piece. And the other piece that, of course, speaking about end users, is end users tend to be kind of one of the more central places where attacks happen, unfortunately. You know, we have a wonderful habit of trying to do our job, which means that sometimes we get a little bit antsy with security. And I think at Microsoft, we have this core principle that security should be approachable, that security should be adoptable. And so when you get to things like passwords, well, how do we make it to where passwords aren't a problem anymore? Well, we use our face. Luckily, most of us can use our face and kind of put it in front of a camera, and that gives us the ability to sign in with things, and it verifies who we are, which, by the way, in this age of AI is even more important. You know, as organizations are concerned who's getting access to their data, they have to be able to verify who that individual is. But even on a personal note, like when I'm thinking about maybe using a capability like Recall, which is coming out with some of our latest devices, you want this ability to be able to verify that you are the one getting access to your history. And so that if a bad actor did somehow maybe use malware to get into your device, they don't have the opportunity to, you know, get access to your data because they're not there. They're not proving, you know, they're not telling the system that they're you, right? It's all about verification of your identity. And that's really important, I think, in this kind of human-centric world that we're moving towards.
And with the introduction of NPUs to surface with Intel Core Ultra devices, does this impact the security experience at all?
Yeah, we kind of talked about NPUs earlier, right, on a different video. Quick recap, the NPU is going to be this new processor that, or is a new processor, I should say, that helps drive AI workloads. Well, if you think about like the NPU's core purpose of running AI workloads, a lot of what security does today is machine learning based, right? It has to constantly evolve and evolve on the fly. Sometimes that's algorithms based, and sometimes that's based on like a known list of registries that we can push out over updates. But sometimes it actually does need to be learning and intelligent. And that's where the NPU is really just absolutely amazing. And I will say, actually, Intel has done a phenomenal job of going out and activating some of our ISVs across like McAfee and CrowdStrike. And of course, Microsoft, we're working with like the Windows Defender side of the house to bring some of those machine learning capabilities and build them into the NPU. And that way, we're taking what has historically been kind of a process-heavy workload. Because if you think about like, for security, you always need to be operating, right? And so those machine learning things need to always be operating. If I can take some of that workload and put it onto a specialized processor, now that actually frees up my processor to be more performant. And so not only is it more secure for your device, it actually makes it a better experience. And of course, our end users love better experiences. Like they'll love to know that like their device is secure and they can kind of continue to work with things. And there's other, obviously, technologies coming to bear, and I know that like Intel is definitely kind of looking at some phenomenal things and really kind of developing some new things. But I think the NPU, we're just starting to see it getting tapped by security programs, and it's definitely, to me, a major trajectory for that industry.
Yeah, fantastic. So how are Surface and Windows working together to provide top-level security for organizations?
Yeah, well, we kind of go back to that initial conversation I mentioned earlier, which is like Surface being kind of that manifestation. Well, one of the things that we've got to do is because we wouldn't be much of a device without an operating system. And so we work very, very closely with our Windows engineering team. And we've brought things to market first. And so if you think about like some of the advanced protections that Windows offers across like virtualized based security. So virtualized based security came out, a few years ago now. But it's this kind of notion that I can take parts of my operating system and I can virtualize them. It's in that same layer that like our hypervisor or some of our virtual machines would work on. And what we do is we basically take that security and we abstract it from the operating system. And so if you go back to that zero trust philosophy we mentioned earlier, if I somehow gain access to identity, well, that means that if I'm abstracting that identity from, say, our operating system, I'm now protecting them. I'm putting kind of a moat between them so much. And same things, vice versa. If maybe an attacker were to gain access to the operating system, I can protect my identities.
Yeah.
And so we were one of the first vendors to enable VBS by default. We continue to move forward with some of those technologies. We embrace things like the new enhanced security, sign-on security that's part of Windows Hello, where we take that same identity secret and we put it into a virtualized layer. We're also working very closely at the chip level, actually. So you may have heard of Pluton.
Yes.
Pluton is this new, I like to call it like a security processor. That Pluton processor enables Microsoft to provide a hardware layer that in the future, when we wanted to provide new capabilities, we won't need to build new packages. We won't need to build new hardware. We can just send a new capability over Windows Update, and you'll have a new capability light up. And so Microsoft Surface and Windows have definitely been partnering to make that a reality. In fact, we rolled out Pluton on a few of our previous devices, and we're definitely excited as they start coming out more. So
thanks so much for your time, Chauncey. We really appreciate this. We've learnt some amazing things about Surface devices with the Intel Core Ultra processors and Surface security. At Data3, we're uniquely placed to help our customers with their security needs. Not only are we back-to-back Worldwide Partner of the Year for Surface, we're also a global finalist in the Secure Productivity Partner of the Year category. We're the ANZ Modern Work Partner of the Year, as well as being Microsoft's #1 modern work and security partner in Australia. We combine our managed XDR security offering with Surface devices, either direct or through a bundled CSP solution for our customers to provide the most secure productivity experience on best-in-class devices. If you'd like to know more, please get in touch with us at data3.com/Microsoft.